Hi, Kiko.
Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Hey guys, well, thanks so much for taking the time. Great documentary. Thank you for sharing it with me. I've never played pickleball before, so what am I missing?
You're missing a
Camaraderie,
you're
exercise.
yeah, you're just missing fun. You're missing fun,
So much
Kiko.
fun.
Fun that you can have with, unlike with most sports, like fun you can have with pretty much anyone. You can have a child and a grandparent on the court at the same time and still have a competitive game. So it's pretty unique in that respect. But yeah, more than anything else, I think it's just fun.
Over the last couple of years, pickleball courts have been popping up across my city, which is San Antonio. We even have a San Antonio Pickleball Association, which I just found out about as I was researching pickleball, right? Is this what you've seen yourself over the country? I mean, the way it's just blown up like this?
Yeah, I mean, as far as courts go, as going back to 2019, 2020, before the sport, I mean, it was growing immensely, but it was still compared to today, fairly underground. It hadn't really transcended the public consciousness like it did in maybe 2021. There was an estimated 1,200 court conversions a month in 2019, and who was responsible for that? Why was that happening?
Hmm.
Just that people wanted to play pickleball, and so they were going to their local municipal parks and local governments and converting these spaces underutilized tennis courts, basketball courts, etc. So I mean, it's really just like the people's will, like they want to play, and so it's a very accessible game, but you obviously still need the space and the opportunity to do so. And so
Yeah.
people are evangelical about this sport, as you probably know, and they're not going to take no for an answer. And so, uh,
It hasn't been all without drama though. Like I think, there's been some tennis players that have been upset that they're taking away their courts or their
Right.
pickleball is so
yeah,
popular.
it's
There's been complaints about the noise of the plastic ball. I think there have been like
uh,
some town hall meetings with some angry neighbors that
yeah. I mean, I think so, courts I know
yeah.
in California got burned down several months ago. I mean, it's brought community together and torn communities apart at the same time.
Yeah, you mentioned the word underutilized tennis courts. The ones that are utilized are probably the tennis players are a little upset when they go there to play and somebody's playing pickleball on the court, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's a pretty complicated relationship between tennis and pickleball.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and definitely culturally very different. Pickleball is sort of like all inclusive, and I guess tennis, has maybe a bit of more of an air of elitism to it.
Right.
Ball has a lower barrier to entry, easier to play, less exclusive, but people are definitely having a lot of fun.
So
And
Ashley, with pickleball now really exploding in popularity, why do you think now is the perfect time to tell its story?
well, we actually started filming this back in November 2021.
Okay.
Because he was writing a Vanity Fair article on pickleball. And that was actually before, I think it was one of the first articles out there. There have been so many now, and we've heard about it, we've heard about it so much, but we started filming, um, in 2021. We spent 2 years filming. So I think we were a bit ahead of the curve,
Yeah.
when it came to focusing on pickleball. But I think this documentary really we follow kind of the birth of a professional sport, really.
Right.
And that's a unique moment in time that can't happen again. I think if you wanted to do a film about the overview of like a phenomenon or how popular it is or how it's changed people's lives or those themes that could kind of always be made, but we chose to go this angle to focus on the professional sport of pickleball. And that there was a lot that materialized there in a very short amount of time.
Yeah,
So
it's groundbreaking because I mean, could you imagine being a documentary filmmaker when Naismith came up with basketball and shoot and shooting that kind of a experience like that 100 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. I mean, three of our four major, at least on the men's side, pro sports were founded, the leagues were founded over 100 years ago. So this isn't something that happens very often. And we didn't know what was coming. We were trying to tell a story in real time, which presented a host of challenges. And when Ashley and I met, I said, I think this, there are these three leagues and that that are trying to get off the ground at the exact same time, and it's kind of interesting because again, this doesn't happen very often that a pro sport is birthed, and uh, we don't know what's going to happen, but I expected it was going to get a little wild. I expected there was going to be some fun and bumps along the way, and it at once was like a very kind of like earnest, quixotic quest to bring this thing to life and to give it a bigger stage. And then it became this, Shakespearean tragedy of rivals and revenge and ego and all sorts of themes at play. But yeah, just really incredible characters from the players to the entrepreneurs and
Yeah, we likened it to the gold rush, like you kind of get all these characters that kind of come out of the woodworks and you get kind of I don't know, you have your legitimate sort of entrepreneurs and ambitious people who are going to be successful. You kind of have your con men, you
yeah, some
have your
hucksters in there.
yeah, you just
Uh,
have the whole host of the characters that come out. But like the fact we like comparing it to a gold rush because it wasn't just the leagues or the players, but there were a lot of companies um vying for like which ball are the pros gonna like use, like which company is which racket are they gonna use. There were competing not just competing leagues, there were a couple of pickleball halls of fame, which is kind of inherently funny for a sport that hasn't really been around that long.
Everyone was still trying to plant their flag,
Yeah.
establish themselves as like the league, the
Right.
Hall of Fame, the ball, like and it was so new and it was so nascent, and um, it's just like there that can't be captured again, and so we were very fortunate. Like whatever becomes of pro pickleball, and we certainly don't know what's going to become of it.
Right.
I know that in the course of our filming, Major League Pickleball teams went from being valued at $100,000 to $10 million. So it was this incredible moment, this first chapter, if you will, of the professionalization of pickleball. And whatever happens in the future, we were lucky to be there as it was getting off the ground.
Did either of your own perceptions of the sport change over the course of filming at all?
I think that the pro game is really played so much differently than the recreational game.
Mm,
I spent a lot of time watching it in person and then watching it in an edit room. I feel like I like absorbed some skill through osmosis just from watching it so much. But I also felt like I learned to play the game a little bit differently. Like I think a lot of times when you go out in the rec space, I think people are kind of playing it more like tennis.
mm,
But the pro game feels I don't know, a bit more of like I don't know, it's a bit more of a chess
Yeah,
game almost.
it feels more intellectual and cerebral than how
Yeah.
people play recreationally. And also, I think interestingly, maybe it shouldn't be interesting, but I would argue that women's doubles and mixed doubles are the most fun formats to watch live or on TV, but they're kind of the most exciting matches, just how the game differs from when it's two men playing two other men, and that's kind of cool to see, like
yeah.
that from an entertainment standpoint, that I would say the women in mixed doubles are kind of the most fun.
Yeah. You're talking about how you don't know exactly where pickleball is going to end. You don't know what it's going to look like 15, 20 years from now. But when you look at different sports and different leagues, even those are a little bit, there's just so many leagues when you look at boxing or when you look at soccer. So it's going to be interesting, I think, to see how it expands and if people, start branching out in different areas and create different associations. I mean, all
So,
it takes, all it takes is like one angel investor to come in and start
yeah,
that in the league, right?
I mean, well, yeah, I mean, that's a really funny part of it because obviously around the time we were filming, you had the Live Golf PGA
Right.
rivalry, which you could draw a parallel in one sense, but at least if you want to say it that way, in for golf. They were fighting over legitimate global brands in these big players. Like in pickleball, the you know the comp would be these wealthy guys and these very well resourced leagues, vying for players who are fantastic at this sport and are elite athletes in their own respect. But in a lot of cases, they're people with 300 Instagram followers. They're not big global brands. And so you've got these, ultra wealthy guys and their investors uh, really fighting pretty emotionally at times over, all these people who can go shopping at Trader Joe's and no one would recognize them or know who they are. It's not like, Phil Mickelson, Rory McIlroy, and Scotty Scheffler and these like massive global celebrities. So that's inherently kind of funny if we're being honest.
Just a couple more questions, but some people might look at pickleball, they see the name, they see that everybody can play and think of it maybe as a little bit silly if they're not familiar with it. I look at some sports sometimes too, and I'm like, how's that a sport? Like other people like curling in the Winter Olympics or the slap fighting that's recently become popular. Like I don't get that at all. I don't understand that at all. But anyway, to each their own. Do you think are you like that? Can you see a sport and think that it's a little bit silly, but understand the fact that people just enjoy doing it no matter what it is?
Yeah, I think I mean for pickleball, actually one of the hedge fund like sort of league owners in our film had this great line where he just said, as a former hedge fund person, he's like, I look for things that are undervalued. Pickleball kind of has a
Mm,
silly name. So, he's like, but I'm thankful that it does because other people maybe aren't seeing this opportunity. And he said that early on, but then as there was more money coming into the sport, I mean, you have billionaires and celebrities investing, people like Tom Brady and LeBron buying teams, and but one of the big investors, I think, Mark Lazary, who was a former, I think, 25% ownership in the Milwaukee Bucks, who sold that. He was one of the first to come in and buy a Major League Pickleball team, and I think he bought his team around the time we started filming or shortly after for around $100,000. And then, like Craig said, like 2 years later, it was worth,
right.
somewhere between $5 and $10 million. And he was just saying, as an investing strategy and as somebody who invests in sports, um, that investing in smaller teams or things like women's soccer or the WNBA and investing in some of those smaller teams, he's like your returns are so much more than if you've invested in some more established sports. So just in terms of a return on your money, like that those kind of smaller sports or local teams and things like that, is, I don't know, financially a bit more viable of, an investment strategy.
Yeah, definitely. Do you see this ever becoming an Olympic sport, maybe 10, 20 years down the line, or even sooner?
I think it will be in the Olympics. If I had a bet right now, I would bet that it'll be in the Olympics.
But yeah, I would too.
And I'll make this my last question, but how good are you on the pickleball court and how good are your spouses?
Uh, I am better than my spouse at pickleball. I I am an okay pickleball player. Um, and I will lose to um, you know, I'll lose to a good pickleball player. And but I'll beat an okay pickleball player.
That's a good way to
Um,
put it. What
I
about
put
you, Ashley?
myself also in the, pretty good, okay pickleball player. I can hold my own. But I think there's a funny thing in pickleball actually, like spouses. Um, it's kind of a known thing that spouses don't really play together on a team. Like
Hmm,
people have to part because it causes
yeah.
so many arguments.
I
really?
People get really competitive, so it's kind of a known thing that people will play with a partner who is not their spouse.
I want to play against spouses because I feel like I can get them going at each other in a way that will work to my advantage. I'm thrilled to play against spouses, just knowing that their marriage is going to hit a little bit of a bump on the court, and I could maybe be the beneficiary of that.
There could be a lot of
We
bet. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say we also met a lot of people throughout filming who sort of met and fell in love or got married, or they met through playing the
Right.
sport of pickleball.
Yeah.
Common story too.
There could be a lot of betting between husbands and wives. If you beat me in pickleball, you gotta do the dishes for the next month. That'd be something that
Yeah.
I think that would work. Hey guys, well, thank you very much for taking the time, and again, congratulations on your new documentary. And we will let as many people know as possible from our end of the country. So thank you.
That's awesome. We really
Thanks,
appreciate it. I
Kiko.
love San Antonio, so that means a lot. Thank you.
Awesome, sounds good. Well, thank you very much again, and have a good rest of your week.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Yeah, you too. Have a great weekend.